Hello everyone, and welcome back to another video. This is the third episode of the story, in which the brightest stars may shine from the darkest places. Hashirama appeared during the Warring States period. Hiruzen arose from the first conflict. Minato, the third. Surely, a bright light can be found in the darkness of Shinobi. Shimura Danzo, a Jounin instructor, leads Team 7. Please remember to click the like and subscribe buttons. Let's get this show started. At first, when Sasuke opened his eyes, he panicked. He couldn't see. The last thing he remembered was catching Sakura and feeling Kyuubi's chakra wash over him. But his shinobi training under Danzo kicked in, and a few deep breaths later he was able to properly assess his situation. He wasn't tied down, he seemed to be under a blanket, and he could hear two other people breathing in the room. Based on the smell, maybe a hospital room? That would fit with everything. Did that mean they were out of the exams? Either way, he needed more information, and the first step would be taking off his blindfold. It took his sleepy hands a moment to find their way to untying it. Once he did, the first thing he was greeted with was the words "Mission accomplished" on the inside of his freshly removed eye bandages. Nice, but not what he was looking for. When he looked around the room, however, he saw Naruto sleeping deeply and Sakura. Sakura was doing push-ups next to her bed, and had a new tattoo covering her upper left bicep. Hadn't she been bitten by Orochimaru and passed out screaming? Apparently Sakura noticed Sasuke moving around and looked over at him and gestured for him to stay quiet, pointing at Naruto. As soon as she finished her set, she silently rose to her feet and sauntered over to Sasuke's bed, plopping down silently next to him and passing him the note Danzo had left. It explained everything that had happened, including what Danzo had done to her seal. It was finished with a note to let Naruto rest, as he'd been awake for almost 2 days, taken a soldier pill and used Kyuubi chakra. The black dot on the page was all he needed to know to burn the note now that he was done reading it. Now that Sakura was next to him, he decided he could risk whispers. Even with Naruto's incredible hearing, he figured he would be tired enough to sleep through it. Couldn't have been simple. No, not with us it seems. How are your eyes? Fine, I feel like I used every ounce of chakra I've ever had all at once though. How's your arm? Arm's fine. I feel the opposite though, like I've got more chakra than I know what to do with. So much it almost hurts to stay still. I guess I know a little bit of how Naruto feels now. She trailed off. Speaking of Naruto, any idea what that stuff about Naruto being a forgotten prince meant? Sasuke only shrugged, but just as he did, they heard Naruto's voice barely making it past his pillow. Turns out even passed out, his team's voices would still reach him. Clan's dead. Geez, have they ever seen Naruto this tired? Almost certainly not. It was a bit of a shocking statement, but it served to ruffle Sasuke's feathers. I'm sorry, did you say your clan is dead, and you only found out about it? Sasuke realizes he has no idea how long it's been. Chakra exhaustion. So, what, 2 days ago? You lived your whole life a clan orphan and never once did anyone even bother to tell you about your family. By this time he was up and pacing. Naruto just groaned and rolled so he could start to sit up. Well, I mean, yeah, apparently. Not that I've ever even heard about them until however long ago that was. Supposedly we were allies, but they were destroyed in the war. That's not all either. He said there was more to what Orochimaru said about me than he could say. So I guess we'll need to do some digging into the whole Forgotten Prince and Namikaze's legacy thing. But just then their conversation, and Sasuke's pacing, were interrupted by a knock at the door. Sasuke opened it, seeing as he was already standing, just enough to see who was behind it before groaning out, "Ugh, what do you want, Shikamaru?" And opening the door a little further so his team can give him a little wave. "Well, don't roll out the welcome mat on my account, Uchiha. Just came to tell you that all the teams have either been eliminated or arrived, so we all need to meet downstairs." Before he goes, he nods at Naruto. "Thanks for the assist, Naruto. Ino's a decent censor, so we know what you did for us." Naruto managed a sleepy smile. "Don't thank me, Maru," was Sakura's plan. He gives out one more yawn before rolling out of bed and onto the floor before trying to stand. "Well, thanks either way, guys, we won't mention it to anyone else." He takes one last look at them before shaking his head and closing the door. There exists a room in the Tower of Training Ground 44 with a large statue of the Ram sign with a space to speak below it. It's a large room made larger by the second level that seemed to be set up for viewing. But the thing all the Jonin tended to fixate on as they entered and lined up with their teams, was probably the third Hokage waiting to address them. Naruto blushed a little at them being the last team to arrive, embarrassed at having held up the proceedings because he was sleepy. The third shot the boy a kind grandfatherly smile before he began his speech. "Congratulations to all you Jonin hopefuls that have made it this far through the Chunin selection exams. As many of you know, the exams were set up as a way to foster friendship and stronger ties between villages. There is, however, a hidden reason for the exams. As the 5 great Shinobi nations strive for peace, the Chunin exams offer a more controlled way for the villages to display their strength than direct conflict with rival villages. As such, it would not be inaccurate to say we use the exams as a replacement for war. However, in this theater of war we try to keep the publicly viewable aspect of exams to a single day, and so before the one-on-one tournament can take place we will be having a preliminary. At this point a sickly-looking man with short brown hair, dark-colored eyes and dark markings under his eyes stepped up. If it's all the same Hokage-sama, as I'll be proctoring the next stage of the exam, I'd like to take over from here. The venerable Kage waved him on as he took a step back. Ah, by all means Gecko-san, thank you, Lord Third. He bowed his head in respect to his leader before continuing. I'm Hayate Gecko and I've been selected as the proctor for the 3rd phase of the Chunin selection exam. As Lord Third mentioned, we will be hosting a team-based preliminary to streamline the one-on-one tournament. If you take a look at the screen, the teams about to do battle will be randomly chosen and displayed. The rules for the battle are simple. Teams engage in an open 3-on-3 battle until one team is either unable to continue, or forfeits. While lethal force is allowed, we would prefer it if you pulled your blows and allowed us to call the match recognizing your victory. If at any time I feel the match should be called, I will, and you will stop or you will be disqualified. Is that understood? The proctor is met with a chorus of high yes, and finishes. In that case the first 2 teams will be selected and the rest of you can head up to the balconies where your senseis will be waiting. Everyone's attention was focused on the screen as the various team names flashed on either side. It settled on Leaf Team 7 versus Leaf Team 10. Shikamaru's groan could be heard throughout the room. As the room cleared as the few remaining teams headed up to the balcony, Shikamaru found himself briefly next to Naruto, and could have sworn he heard a soft "I'm really sorry for this" before the 2 teams settled across the arena from each other. Everyone on the field looked to be fairly uncomfortable with the situation, but as the proctor called a start to the match, while Team 10 was just shifting into their combat stances, Sasuke was already in Shikamaru's face, a kunai held to his throat and Sasuke's Sharingan eyes gently spinning before him. Shikamaru had been in the rear of their formation and Sasuke had just blown right past. He hadn't understood just how out of their league Team 7 was, but he was sure it would only take seconds for Ino and Choji to be subdued if this was Sasuke's level. Sure enough, Sakura had forced Choji into a chokehold, and while Ino had managed to get a pair of kunai out to defend against Naruto flying towards her, but there was little she could do as Naruto's kunai cut through hers like butter, and she was pinned. But in those few seconds it took for Team 7 to dismantle what he thought was a proficient Jonin team, he had his worldview further shook by hearing Uchiha Sasuke say, "Don't you dare hurt my teammate to sate your curiosity, Nara. It would be a shame for an Uchiha to commit another clan genocide." Match. Team 7, and as quick as it started it was over, weapons stashed away and any hostility that was present with them stashed just as quickly as the members of Team 7 offered their hands in a show of sportsmanship. Even as they shook the hands of their peers, even minds less sharp than Shikamaru's began to see Team 7 for what they were. The gossiping jounin were aghast at first. Asuma's cigarette lying on the cement below his guy began shouting about youth. Kurinia was silent but internally was concerned. After all, Sasuke had moved faster than she could. The Jonin were even worse. Kiba in particular was having a hard time accepting that people he had gone to the academy with could be so strong. Team Guy was also deeply unnerved by the sheer efficiency of the rookie team. But they didn't have long to think about it before the second team match was displayed. Team Kabuto versus Team Sand. It was only up for a second before Kabuto raised his hand. "We forfeit." While Gaara may have growled lightly at not getting able to kill anyone, he'd had a busy week and Mother was mostly being chill. And most of the people in the area didn't really hold it against them. Naruto's eyes narrowed at the bespectacled Jonin. While he didn't say anything now, his suspicions were mounting. Hayate resumed, "In that case, the final pairing could only possibly be..." And the board flashed to show Leaf Team 8 versus Leaf Team 9, and up on the balcony as Team 9 jumped into the arena, Hinata shuddered. Naruto, being the sort to notice these sort of things, looked to Sakura as if asking what the issue could be, but it was actually Sasuke that flashed him a response in hand signs that basically read "family BS, not her fault," which Naruto didn't really understand but took Sasuke's word on it. And while Shino and Kiba passed a glance between them, they nodded confidently and the team jumped down to the arena. Before the proctor could start the match though, Neji decided to make a statement. "Quit now. Hinata-sama. You stand no chance against us." But Hinata would have none of it, even if she was shaking. "No, Neji-ni-san. We will fight against you. Because Team 8 will not give up." And even though she stuttered through it, she managed. And if anything, that only made Neji more angry. As the proctor called the start of the match, Neji shot towards Hinata like a bullet. He probably should have activated his Byakugan first though, because Kiba cut him off with a passing Fang technique. Tenten tried to intercept with a volley of kunai, but that too was cut off. This time by a swarm of Shino's insects. Only in doing so Shino left himself open to Lee's charge, or so it seemed before he burst into a swarm of insects that surrounded Lee. And while for most this would be a devastating mistake, Lee was simply too fast for the Oberame's beetles to catch. And while Tenten closed the gap to fight with Kiba, Neji re-engaged with Hinata. Surprisingly to many, Kiba was actually able to overwhelm Tenten with Akamaru's help. Even together him and Shino were only just barely able to stall Lee. But unbeknownst to Lee, he was steadily losing the battle as his chakra was being steadily drained. It lasted just long enough for Lee to knock the two of them out before promptly fainting from chakra exhaustion. Right about the same time as Hinata was knocked back by a vicious palm strike from Neji. "Face it, Hinata-sama, your team has fallen and you cannot win. Forfeit." But even as Neji grew ever angrier, from the balcony above it was shockingly Sakura that shouted out in support. "Come on Hinata. Don't listen to this jerk. You were top 3 kunoichi in a class of clan heirs, fuck him up. Do it for the girls." Ino cheered along with that last point. But Hinata getting back to her feet only angered him further. But as he rushed forward to land the finishing blow, even as the proctor called the match, a few things happened all at once. First of all was the Hinata was no longer standing in the ring. She was on the balcony with Naruto standing in her place. Even if she had thought to fight the replacement technique, it was doubtful she would have been able to. The second was Guy holding Neji by the wrist. A firm grimace of disapproval on his face. And surprising to many was Sasuke's sword at Neji's throat. His Sharingan spinning furiously. Go figure, the last Uchiha would be a little sensitive about family violence. Somehow Neji got the first word out. "You see this, Hinata? You see the favoritism the main house receives? Even in a no-hold-barred match you're bailed out." "Shut up," Sasuke roared at him. "I don't give a fuck what your family's like, you get to have one. Only one. And Hinata's a sweet girl that's never done anything to you." Oh, so the Uchiha prince thinks he can talk about family life just because his big brother snapped? You can't begin to know what it's like to live as a second-class citizen. But before anyone else can chime in, the voice of the third booms over the room. "Enough. You embarrass your village, Jinan." The room falls eerily silent before Gecko coughs and resumes his duties. "Yes, well, leave Team 9 wins. If you'd all fall in, we'll explain the next round of the Chunin exams." As the situation diffused and the still awake Shinan from all the winning teams assembled, it's been decided that the next round of the exam will in fact not be a one-on-one tournament. Instead, each round every remaining team will select one member to enter the arena for a 3-man free-for-all. The examinees will have 1 month to prepare for the third exam. Good luck to you all. When Team 7 arrived home to their apartment, I don't think they were terribly surprised to find Danzo waiting for them. Even if they had hoped to get some sleep. "Congratulations to you 3. You've met, and even exceed all expectations placed on you. Yeah, that's as good as it was gonna get for a Black Book mission. Of course this isn't the end of things. You all have already been briefed on the third exam, and so I trust you will understand when I say I won't have time to train all 3 of you." He passed out bundles to each of them. "Worry not, as I have pulled some strings to ensure you would have the best of teachers available." As they started to go through their bundles, Danzo elaborated, "Sakura, it likely took every ounce of pull with Lord Third I have left, but you will receive tutelage from Lord Jiraiya so that you can learn to harness the power of your new seal. As he is the only known sage currently alive, you could hope for no better teacher in the ways of nature chakra." He looks at Naruto. His one condition was that he be allowed to share a meal with you in private. He'll explain why, I'm sure, and he'll likely collect you at his leisure, I imagine. The team shared a confused look, even as stars began to shine in Sakura's eyes at the idea of being trained by a Sannin. "Now Sasuke, your teacher was only too happy to take you off my hands," as he put it. Hatake Kakashi is the sole surviving student of the late Lord Fourth, and is renowned for both his lightning jutsu, and his mastery of a gifted Sharingan eye. "I believe you could learn much from him." A curt nod. Sasuke already knew who Sharingan no Kakashi was, and had been wanting to meet the man for some time. Hopefully he would live up to the expectations. "Now Naruto, your training will be slightly different. On the evenings I am available, will work on my personal style of Wenjutsu, vacuum style. At all other times you can train as you like with either an Anbu codenamed Tenzo with any of the contents of the included materials, or you'll find included a letter of introduction to Narashikaku with a request for a shogi partner. While your tactics continue to improve, the less micromanaging of your clones is required, the better, and your knowledge is their knowledge. Naruto nodded excitedly at the prospect of learning his sensei's personal jutsu style. Beyond that, I recommend you all pace yourselves over the next month. Remember what the exams could truly mean, and keep in mind all that could change after this. I have left you with more free time than usual and I trust you not to abuse it. Any questions? Team 7 shared a look before Sasuke addressed their sensei. Why had none of us heard of the Uzumaki before all this? Why didn't anyone tell Naruto about his family? The heat in his voice was seemingly ignored as Danzo replied. Several reasons. You never heard of the Uzumaki, both because we failed as their allies and some sought to change history, but also because information about them was erased because only an Uzumaki can hold Kyuubi. He gave them a moment to take that bit in. Lord Third decided that if anyone could learn of the Uzumaki, and learn of their legacy of Jinchuriki, that it would point to large target on Naruto. Sasuke started scowling again as Naruto just looked down at his shoes. However, I have had a discussion with Lord Third and have managed to get the three of you clearance to view one of our village's greatest secrets. Your display in the exams is likely the only reason I was able to get it. He handed a folder to Naruto, who opened it quickly before going wide-eyed and dropping it. Danzo frowned slightly at the extremely confidential information being mishandled but didn't say anything on account of the contents. Sasuke and Sakura share a look, and while Sakura moves to put her hands on the now shaking Naruto's shoulders, Sasuke retrieved the fallen folder to see what it was that could have upset Naruto so greatly. Had he been kidnapped? Were his parents traitors? No. No, it was worse. And even as Naruto turned to put his head on Sakura's shoulders, he started crying silently as he shook in her arms. She looked to Sasuke to see what had upset Naruto so badly, only to see the documents crumpled in his hand with evident rage on his face. As Sasuke met her gaze, he mouthed the words so that Naruto wouldn't have to hear them again. His dad was Lord Fourth and his mom was the previous Jinchuriki. Sakura squeezed Naruto lightly as the implications set in. Both of Naruto's parents died the night he was born, sealing the Kyuubi into him and leaving him alone. And Sasuke hadn't even mentioned Naruto's supposed godfather. The whole room could feel Naruto struggling to hold in his massive chakra presence in his current distress. You could almost feel the fox boiling beneath his skin. Sasuke took it upon himself to be angry for him. What the fuck is this, sensei? Sasuke took a half step towards Danzo in his anger. Family was always important to him. How dare the village keep this from him? Naruto is the rightful heir of a noble clan in a fucking cage. And he was left to fend for himself on a fucking orphan stipend? Sasuke was cut off by a precise but indomitable flex of chakra from his sensei. Sasuke. He snaps before continuing in his normal monotone. Your anger is misplaced. This was a unilateral decision made by the Lord Third. I had actually petitioned to raise Naruto myself but was denied. Okay, maybe that was framing the truth slightly, ask you. Sasuke's eyes span almost out of control as he made his next declaration. The moment I receive my Chunin paperwork, I'm bringing this to the clans. A clan child was robbed of his birthright. And don't you dare say it was for his protection. I was every bit as much of a potential target as him. Hell, Hinata was kidnapped from inside her own fucking compound while surrounded by a clan that claimed to have all seen eyes, so any clan child could be a target. Fuck. Sasuke punched the wall exactly hard enough to not break it, and as he did he noticed the faintest distortion in the air. Then Danzo's hand landed on his shoulder and whispered to him sternly. Calm yourself, Sasuke. This isn't what he needs now. Save your anger for what it will serve, not disrupt. Danzo pulled away quickly as Sasuke took a few breaths to steady himself, pushing his Sharingan down in the process. He gave Danzo a nod, and went to put his arms around Naruto and Sakura, and as a group they started to fall to the floor. The faint click of a door being closed as Danzo left could be heard just as Naruto started talking softly, a strange mixture of sobbing and laughter cutting through his voice even as his body shook in rage. My father. My own father made me a Jinchuriki. How could he do that when his own wife was the last one? He must have known how we're treated. And I didn't even get to know? I didn't even get to have pictures? Why? Why we? And even as he started to sob more violently, while the maelstrom of emotions could still be felt. Luckily, however, the maelstrom of chakra abated steadily until eventually both Naruto and the room stilled. After Sasuke and Sakura carried him into bed, they took a seat together at the kitchen table to talk quietly. Sasuke passed her the documents he'd picked up. It gets worse. Jiraiya was supposed to be his godfather. Sakura dragged a hand across her face in frustration. Fuck. Really? My interim sensei? I suppose that's why he wants to have lunch with Naruto. We should go with him. He'll just pretend to be okay with everything in front of a stranger. Sasuke nodded. I was serious too. The moment I'm a Chunin I'll be calling for a vote of no confidence by the clans. He was on shaky footing already between the Uchiha and Hyuga incidents. This is way too far. Sakura hums in agreement. Who will the clans push for, you think? Sasuke thinks about it for a second. Probably Jiraiya, honestly. Kakashi could probably do it from what I hear, but I doubt he would. So still someone that failed Naruto. He might not have had the choice. Lord Third has forced a lot of hands to make Naruto grow up the way he did. Jiraiya could have been one of them. Fuck, fine, we'll find out more. I'll talk to Ino too. She already said she's already promised her clan's support to Naruto and she's not the type to back down on that. Sasuke nodded in agreement. We should get some sleep. Sasuke burns the papers before standing to head off to bed. As per usual, life in Team 7's apartment started at 5 AM. Naruto was watering his plants while Sakura was in the shower and Sasuke made breakfast. The normality of it was comforting to all involved. Once they were done with breakfast and everyone showered and got in their training gear, they sat around the table and started to actually go through the bundles Danzo had given each of them. Unsurprisingly, it was Sakura that finished first and started to summarize what Danzo had left her with. Alright, so I'm supposed to basically manage my own physical training in the mornings with some guidelines sensei included. Increased weight training too. Training starts with Jiraiya every day at 1,300 hours and apparently I'm supposed to start carrying around a 200 IBS piece of steel rebar at all times? Sakura groans as her head hits the table. Naruto gives her a little pat on the back as Sasuke starts. Same thing. Self-guided physical training. Kakashi at 1 starting tomorrow. Today Danzo made me an appointment with a doctor just outside of the city that apparently used to deal with my clan. Lots of notes for lightning manipulation and exercises to increase my reserves. He nods towards Naruto signaling he's finished. Same with you guys for morning training. In the afternoons I can either go train with some Anbu codenamed Tenzo or go play shogi with an Ara clan. Twice a week Danzo has a few hours set aside for me. Most of the notes I have are on the highest forms of wind manipulation and detailed notes on the creation of the shadow clone jutsu? It's too early for me to figure out what I'm supposed to be doing with these. Wait, what? Sakura grabs at the stack of notes he's got in front of him almost in awe. Holy shit, this is a direct copy of Lord Tobirama's journal. Do you guys have any idea what these are worth? How the fuck was Danzo able to get these? Sasuke HN before chiming in. He did say when we started training he had access to all sorts of stuff no one should. He holds up a journal labeled Uchiha Izuna, copy as if to punctuate his point. Naruto shuffles through his stuff a little more thoroughly. Yeah, honestly guys, a lot of this stuff is a little technical for me. And I'm pretty sure it's illegal for me to have some of this. He shows them a couple notebooks entitled Dead Demon Consuming Seal and 8 Trigram Sealing Style. Even as stars started to shine in Sakura's eyes at the motherload of technical and extremely classified information being dropped into their lap. Sasuke's eyes narrowed a little. I can't imagine many people would be happy with you having that information. But I doubt it's illegal. To illustrate his point, he opens one of them to the first page and points at the first line developed by the Uzumaki clan, clearly visible. I doubt he expects you to learn sealing at this level, but it could help you better understand your relationship with Kyuubi. Even if we do need Sakura to translate it. But suddenly Sakura stops rifling through papers as an idea occurred to her. Wait. No, we could do sealing. She grabs the 8 trigrams notes and flips through them quickly. Yeah, not like this. This isn't the place to start, but I can follow the interactions. If I learned the components and maybe brush up on chakra theory a little more. She pauses to look at her team before deciding to fill them in a little. Look, sealing only really needs 3 things. Comprehension, precision, and power. The seal provides all the guidance, so it doesn't even need to be controlled. But no one ever said it had to be one person providing all 3. If I can learn how it works I can design seals, and I'm supposed to be training with Jiraiya who's supposed to be a seal master. I'm sure he can give me some stuff to get me started. And Sasuke, your eyes can memorize and replicate anything they see perfectly, and your calligraphy is already beautiful, so even if my prototypes are sloppy when you make it, it should come out perfect. And Naruto, you have even more chakra than the Lord Third does without Kyuubi. Naruto and Sasuke share an unsure look. No, you guys don't get it. We don't have the normal limits most people who do sealing have. We have every advantage. More silence. Oh, just trust me on this, it'll work. Come on, let's go start our morning workout. She unseals a 6-foot-long steel beam and starts trying to figure out how to hold it on her back with chakra without getting in her way too much. Fuck, that's heavy, she groans out as they all head towards a training ground. The scene as Team 7 finishes up a morning workout that would make even Guy proud was an unsurprising one. Naruto, with his freakish endurance, was happily munching on some snacks that Sasuke brought. One thing that would never change about him was his monstrous appetite. It couldn't be easy filling those massive reserves of his after all. And while Sasuke was certainly whipped out from the morning ordeal, he was certainly doing better than Sakura. Sakura, who had just finished throwing up in the stream, was laying face down in the grass groaning, her steel beam still attached to her back via chakra. If you listened closely you could hear her muttering, "Stupid sensei. Stupid steel. Stupid chakra." It wasn't really a problem of weight, her limb weights and weighted vest were heavier. It was the chakra cost of holding it to her back. Her control might be perfect but her reserves had never been fantastic. And even while receiving her cursed seal had forced her chakra paths a little wider, her body just wasn't adjusted to using chakra like this. But one person had heard her muttering the three of them hadn't expected. Someone that managed to sneak up on them. Someone who, while they knew they would have to deal with at some point, they were still wholly unprepared for. Don't worry about it too much. That thing on your arm will speed up your natural healing a bit if the notes I got were right. 3 sets of eyes flew towards the white-haired giant that was suddenly standing next to them. And while the 3 of them were frozen in shock for a moment, he continued. "But you'll all have to forgive me, I have you at a disadvantage. Allow me to introduce myself." And he struck a goofy pose, but before he was able to continue his introduction, a loud clang boomed through the field and everyone's view was filled with dust. As it settled, the new scene was one few would believe. Jiraiya of the Sannin, wide-eyed and bent forward slightly, holding the end of a steel beam with both hands. A now L-shaped steel beam with the other end held by a 13-year-old girl with pink hair. Hey, whoa now. You didn't even let me introduce myself there, Pinky." He waved his hands as he backed away from the beam, trying to keep the mood light. That wasn't likely to happen, because for reasons he wasn't aware of, Team 7 knew exactly who he was. And Sasuke had no inclination to let either Naruto or Jiraiya defuse the situation as he stepped in front of Naruto, Sharingan blazing. "We know who you are, Jiraiya." "Oh, you do? And just who do you think I am? 'Cause this is not how I am usually greeted." "Oh, is that so? Oh, forgive me, Lord Jiraiya." Sasuke spat at him. "You were expecting us to be excited to meet you then?" The teacher, our sensei, arranged for Sakura because there was no other option. Which, by the way, is because your teammate decided to fuck with us personally. And while the sage flinched at that, Sasuke wasn't done. And how strange, that as a condition of giving the training said Sannin wanted a private lunch with another one of my teammates. A blonde-haired blue-eyed Jonin that grew up with no family, and no one to show him love or kindness for the first 12 years of his life. Naruto tried to put a hand on his shoulder but Sasuke shrugs it off. "Gee, doesn't that sound familiar though? Say, didn't your last student have blonde hair and blue eyes? He was kind of a big deal too, and from what I hear, basically the son you never had." Jiraiya had no idea where Sasuke got all this information, but his gaze was starting to harden as he interrupted. "Now listen here, Jinano. There was that steel beam flying over his head into the stream as the Sannin ducked. An ineffective attack, but it gave Sasuke the opportunity to go for the finish. Namikaze Minato trusted you." The clearing went perfectly still as he continued more quietly. "And your godson grew up not even knowing if his parents loved him. His clan legacy hidden from him. Neglected and discriminated against. He was so malnourished, the only reason he survived is the same thing that turned almost the whole village against him." Everyone looked on in shock as Sasuke's voice began to crack. "His father trusted you, and instead of providing a life of love and care, you were what? Gallivanting? Writing smut novels?" Sasuke was actually crying at the end of it. But Jiraiya? Jiraiya's eyes were soft, but his face could have been chiseled from stone. That would be called coping, son. Distracting yourself from a reality you can't change. You want to know why I wasn't there? You really want to learn why? But before Sasuke could try and answer, Naruto pulled him around and into a hug, whispering into his ear as he did. "Thanks for fighting for me, Sasuke. I'll take it from here, okay?" Sasuke nodded into his chest as Naruto patted him on the back before stepping forward and locking eyes with the Sannin. "Yeah, actually I do. Even if you could have just visited. Even now I don't know if my parents loved me. I don't have any memories or pictures. My dad's face is on that mountain, but I don't know anything about him other than he put the fox in me." By the end, Naruto's voice is cracking too and his eyes are glistening with unshed tears. For all Sasuke's rage and Sakura's, well, rage had been a surprise, but he wasn't totally unable to deal with it. After all, this is a man that's flown the entire length of the village courtesy of his blonde teammate's fist. But the genuine hurt and longing Naruto made no effort to hide. There was no defense for that. "Oh, come on now. Hey look, it's It's not all that simple, okay? Jiraiya rubbed his hand in his face as he sat down, gesturing for the team to sit down. Look, I wasn't even in the village for the Kyuubi incident. It hadn't been long since Orochimaru defected, and by the time I got here it was already over. He took a deep breath before he continued. You have to understand. Or maybe you don't. But when I got here and found out that your parents had died and that I had been too late, that maybe if I hadn't spent so long chasing after my bastard teammate and wallowing in my own sorrow I could have been here? He wiped some tears out of his eyes. When Sensei said you'd be looked after and that he needed me in the field, I should have pushed back, but I didn't. I didn't want to be here, without my teammates, without Minato and Kushina. It felt like everything I'd fought for my whole life had been torn away from me. That the future I believed in? The pained look on his face as he exhaled and unclenched his hands symbolically. Poof. Gone. It took Jiraiya a while to continue, crying silently as he stared at nothing. So you're right. You're all right. I was weak, and I betrayed my best friend. He nodded as he said it. And I asked Sarutobi how he was doing every so often, and he always said he was fine. But I never came back to check myself. I was always either working, drinking, or whoring. And I can't fix that now, and I can't expect you to forgive me. But right now we all know there's bigger stuff at play than justice, and I really am the only person who can help your teammate. So, tell you what, scratch the lunch, and Sakura can take today off. If you ever want to talk, just let her know and I'll swing by. The Sannin dusts himself off as he stands and turns to walk away. Team 7 shared a look, Naruto's pleading look at Sasuke bringing out a groan before nodding. Jiraiya was genuinely surprised when he heard Sakura's voice call after him. Hey! You think you can get out of having lunch with Naruto that easy? Get your ass back here, we always pack too much anyways. His smile hadn't been wider in years, but he schooled it back into a smug grin so he could play his favorite character. The man he wanted to be. Well, I don't know, I suppose I could fit you lot into my busy schedule right now. You know, it's not just anybody that gets to spend personal time with Jiraiya the gallant, you know. He says with a booming belly laugh, before turning to sit back with them. So what are we having? Oh, like it matters, you're getting a free meal. And you owe me a new steel beam. Seeing Naruto laugh and smile at that was all the proof Jiraiya needed that just maybe, the future he believed in wasn't gone. Lunch ended up being a much longer affair than anticipated, and while Sasuke stayed aloof, Naruto and Sakura weren't as immune to the charms of the charismatic sage. Say what you will about Jiraiya, he was a wonderful storyteller, captivating his audience with theatrical gestures and colorful commentary. As much as he might play it off like he was doing the Genin some big favor, it was easy for anyone to see that he was enjoying himself as he told tale after tale. Snippets from his adventures, stories he'd heard, but most importantly stories of Naruto's parents. It seemed to be going perfectly, that is until they hit a sore point. He had just finished his tale of how Minato had rescued Kushina from Kumo Shinobi by following strands of her hair when they were only Genin, when Naruto asked some of the questions he'd been afraid of. He sounds great. But I just don't get it. If he was that strong even as a Genin, and he did all these other amazing things, how did Kyuubi get out of my mom? How come he had to make me its Jinchuriki? Why did they both die? None of it makes sense. Naruto was clearly distressed, being unsure of how to deal with this new kind of grief. Jiraiya's sigh was heavy, because he knew no one would be happy with his answers. I wish I knew Naruto. Truly I do. A Jinchuriki seal is vulnerable at all the same times you're vulnerable. When you're sick, or injured, or giving birth. And it shouldn't have been a problem. Minato and Kushina were both seal masters, and Sarutobi-sensei's wife and a full team of Anbu were present at a secure site outside of the village. But something did happen. I don't know why Minato did what he did. But trust me when I say he was the greatest shinobi to ever live, and I have to believe he had a reason for what he did. That's a lot of trust to place in someone. Sasuke had somehow found something negative to say, refusing to warm up to the normally jovial man. Yeah. It is. You couldn't understand, kid. I truly believed he was going to bring peace to the great shinobi nations. And maybe this is all still part of his plan. Oh, so you believe it was his plan for Naruto to be neglected and abused then? Okay, look. You're intentionally taking things the wrong way, but Sasuke interrupted again. And you spent 12 years without once checking on a child you were supposed to raise, but now Jiraiya was losing patience. Now you listen here, kid, stop it, both of you. Naruto was on his feet, unshed tears in his eyes again. We still don't know everything, Sasuke. There's still so much we don't understand, and I'm not saying what anyone did was right, but we're here now. Naruto took a shuddering breath before continuing. We're here now, and I have my family. And I'm not saying Jiraiya is a part of that family yet, but Sasuke, I know when someone's worth trusting. Jiraiya isn't a bad guy, he's just made mistakes. And if he's willing to put the work in, and the time, and to be here not just for me but for all of us, then yeah, I'm gonna give him a chance. He locked eyes with Sasuke now, pleading. Even if it was against his better judgment, saying no to Naruto was hard. Boys shouldn't be able to use puppy dog eyes like that. Fine. At some point during it all they had all returned to their feet, and Sasuke chose to get up in Jiraiya's face. Well, as well as he could with the height difference. One chance. One. You hurt him and I do everything in my power to make your life miserable. But Jiraiya can work with that, his big goofy grin making its return. Yes sir. Shall I have her home by 11 then? Naruto turned bright red at the insinuation of Sasuke playing dad of the group, even as Sakura guffawed. Sasuke turns his back to the older man. We should go wash up, I have an appointment soon. Naruto's coming with me. Naruto seemed as surprised by this as anyone as Sakura finished packing up and joined the rest of them on their feet. Cool, where should we meet up after Jiraiya-sensei? The older man was shocked she wanted to train with him after all that, but he had agreed to it so. Where's your favorite place to meditate that we could go? Sakura's smile widens, finding a chance to visit a friend at the same time. Definitely the Yamanaka clan gardens, I'm besties with the clan heiress so they'll let us in. If you say so. Meet you there at like 1400, didn't expect to be here so long and I have another meeting I need to attend. Yeah cool, no problem. See you then sensei. And with that Team 7 was off, the first morning, of the first day, of what would prove to be a very busy month finished. So why are we meeting this doctor person outside of the village anyways? A curious Naruto asked as they walked. No clue. Well, that wasn't super helpful. Luckily habits keep Naruto pretty aware of what's going on around him and he just gained some intel. There's some people in front of what looks like an old temple. I think one's Lady Tsunade? That would make sense, she's the best medic to ever live and supposedly refuses to enter the village itself. Sasuke replied, while internally sighing with relief that his eyes would be getting the best care possible. As the Genin approached the two kunoichi, was one of them holding a pig? It became obvious that they were bickering. Look Shizune, all I'm saying is it doesn't matter how easy it is to fix, it matters that it was allowed to get like this. My grandparents built this temple and the village owes her more than letting it rot. As she finished, the now identified Shizune was attempting to bring her attention to the two boys arriving. When Tsunade finally looked, she seemed unimpressed. Uchiha, you're not only late, you've brought your girlfriend. Naruto turned bright red and hid behind Sasuke a little. Which of course caused Sasuke to groan and rub his face. Naruto's not my girlfriend, he's my teammate. And I'm sorry. We're late, we were held up by Sasuke grit his teeth as he fought to stay respectful. Lord Jiraiya. You're of course familiar with his antics though, Lady Tsunade. Tsunade's eyes widened a little, surprised both by the Uchiha's attempt at being diplomatic despite his clear distaste for her teammate, and his companion being Uzumaki Naruto. Yeah, there's no cure for that dude, I'm afraid. If he was going to grow up it would have happened by now, I think. She chuckles a little before she turns towards the temple. Give me a minute to set up my field office here. At this point Naruto finally noticed the Uzumaki swirl hidden in shadows on the semi-collapsed temple. But as Tsunade rested her hand on the front pillar, a flash of green chakra could be seen on contact, and something amazing began to happen. They could all feel Tsunade's verdant chakra rush into the building, and seemingly be answered by something else. And before their eyes they watched the temple come back to life, the pillars lifting themselves straight, the old planks filling with life and vigor once again. As the two Genin, and even the more experienced Shizune looked on in wonder, Tsunade began to speak again. My grandfather may have gone without ever passing on his wood release. But as long as there is a Senju in Konoha, his legacy can never die. She closed her eyes for a moment, seemingly in prayer. When she opened them again she turned to the members of Team 7 present. My grandmother wanted this shrine built to preserve the secrets of her clan in the event of catastrophe. As the Uzumaki symbol finished rising to its rightful place above the temple she finished. Her name was Uzumaki Mito, and she would have been your great-aunt, Naruto. Your mother was my cousin. As it turned out, Naruto was not a shinobi without limits. And between the oncoming war, a confrontation with Orochimaru, finding out about his father, then his godfather, and now his great-aunt? Sasuke was actually pretty disappointed in himself for not realizing Naruto's limits and had done nothing but pout since he fainted. Sasuke insisted on being the one to carry Naruto inside, and when Tsunade laughed about him fainting, Sasuke snapped at her rather sharply. Look, in less than a week everything he knew about his life has been flipped on its head, and at the same time we've all got more than a little pressure on us. Tsunade was more of a tough love sort though. Yeah well, better to get it all out of the way at once, right? Besides, when I saw your team's security clearance level I kinda figured that meant you guys were ready for this kind of pressure. But that just left Sasuke perplexed. Security clearance? Oh, like you don't know. Your team somehow has Jounin level clearance with a few S-class exceptions made. Or did you think every Jounin had as much intel as you? No, he thought they had Chunin clearance. The journals and jutsu notes were starting to make more sense though. He wouldn't tell her that though. Luckily Uchiha always had a response for everything. HN. Which of course made Tsunade burst out laughing. Whatever Uchiha, leave Naruto with Shizune and I'll take a look at those eyes of yours. Following her directions, Sasuke took the chance to examine the room they were in. Seemingly the main room of the temple. At the back wall there was a display of some truly creepy demon masks. Being familiar with creepy temples, Sasuke mostly shrugged it off though. So tell me, what happened that got Danzo all twisted up? I've never known him to actually show concern for someone. Frank and to the point, Sasuke could appreciate that. We had an encounter with Orochimaru. He tried to mark me, but Sakura got in the way. When we made eye contact I did something and Orochimaru froze, but I passed out. It gave Naruto an opening to get us out, but he says my eyes were bleeding when I passed out, and it used all my chakra. Tsunade hummed as she started a diagnostic jutsu. Yeah, that's not uncommon when unlocking new Sharingan powers. The Uchiha kept a pretty tight wrap on what abilities were unique mutations and what they all could do. But when new mutations occur it's usually during times of trauma, and usually the first time they just sort of take everything cause there's no time to figure out what the right amount is. Sasuke nodded at the explanation as she finished up her diagnostics. Alright, looks like you didn't do any damage. Keep in mind using eye-based abilities you can wind up putting a lot of chakra in a small and sensitive area. Do that too often or with not enough control and you can start to burn Tenketsu or even your retina themselves, so train with care. Sasuke nods again at this, while curious about what his new ability could be, more than aware of Uchiha who would burn their eyes out by forcing them too hard. See, if more Uchiha were as easy to deal with as you were during the last war I wouldn't have had to fix so many of their eyes. She jabs good-naturedly. Sasuke doesn't really know how to take that though. No one really talks about his clan anymore. It wasn't bad, but maybe this is what bittersweet feels like. Tsunade realizes her potential misstep and steers into safer waters. Anyways, let's say we get that teammate of yours up and at him. I'll need to show. She pauses for a minute looking between the two Jounin. Him? Her gaze lands back on Sasuke. He couldn't blame her really. Naruto was wearing a girl's hoodie, had his hair done like a girl, and smells like a girl. Well, no one had told him anything so he just kinda shrugged. Far as I know. Sure. Anyways, I'll need to show him how to work the security seals. I had them deactivated so you could meet me here. I didn't even know he was coming, but since he's here he might as well have access to the place. It's as much his as mine. Her hand glows green for a second before tapping Naruto on the head, forcing him back awake. He shot to his feet as he regained consciousness, spinning with the pulse of wind chakra pushing them all back slightly. From a low stance with kunai in hand, Naruto began to figure out where he was and who he was with. As he did, he sort of slowly lowered his guard and tried to laugh it off, scratching the back of his head as he did so. Oh, hey, sorry about that guys? Naruto stashes his kunai as he looks around a little more. And say, where are we exactly? Last thing I remember is... Oh, I fainted didn't I? Tsunade chortled as he figured it out. Took you long enough, brat. Come on, I know you're a little out of it but I've got to keep on the move, so you need to learn how to work these security seals. Naruto kind of numbly followed as she showed him where they were and how to manipulate his chakra through them. Now, you're not a senju so the building's chakra might not respond to yours like it does mine. But it's still well constructed and with a little work looking after it should last basically forever. There's a scroll vault in the basement that will have another layer of security seals that will need your blood to access. Good place to stash anything if you ever need. Other than that, don't put the masks on and lock up when you're done. Tsunade starts heading for the exit as Shizune scrambles to follow after her. It was nice to meet both. Good luck in the exams. The pink in her arms oinks at them as she waves and rushes past. They had both been gone for almost a full minute with the two Jounin just staring after them. Shockingly, it was Sasuke that spoke first. The world is just fucking with us now. I'm sure. Back with Sakura you would forgive Sakura for going in a little early to see Ino. Her team were off getting Sasuke's eyes looked at and she had some time before meeting up with Jiraiya, around the corner from here. The bell chimed as she entered the shop. Ino-chan. Guess who brought your favorite iced matcha drink and a whole box of assorted dango? Ino, who had previously been tending the shop which today equated to her sitting with her head on a desk twirling a pencil in boredom, shot to attention. Forehead? What are you doing here? Shouldn't you be training for the exams? Sakura recoiled theatrically, covering her face with the food in mock shame. Oh Ino-chan, you wound me. She fell to a knee as dramatically as possible. I come bearing gifts, sneaking in time for you in my busy training schedule, and how do you repay me? Betrayal? Still hiding her face she mock cries as Ino approaches and takes one of the drinks from Sakura. Gee, talk about will wilt without sun. What's wrong hun, your blonde was busy and you needed a sub. Ino digs with a playful smirk. Sakura commits to the bit and falls face first on the floor, muttering ghostly I don't even get a name and this is the treatment I get? Ino just tosses her hair back and giggles. Oh, get up Sakura, I'll close up for a bit and we can catch up. Sakura shoots up from the floor, a beaming smile on her face as Ino flipped the open sign and locked the door. That's the spirit Ino-chan. Yeah, can it and spill girly. Team 7 comes out the gate and basically runs the whole exam right under the proctor's nose? You think we didn't figure it out, we're an information specialist team. Oh come on Ino-chan, I couldn't tell you anything beforehand. I really still can tell you most of it. It's just the way Danzo trained us how. Ino threw up her hands. How did he train you that you're all like she gestures at all of Sakura this? Fucking hell 6 months ago you could barely do a push-up and now you're carrying a steel fucking beam on your back. For training I assume? Do you ever stop training? Sakura shrugged kind of weakly. I get more free time now? I'm here but she didn't get to finish again. Because you managed to squeeze me into your busy training schedule she used big air quotes. Sakura shakes her head, completely baffled by what she was hearing. I'm sorry? Are you mad that I got stronger? Ino stomps at that. I'm mad that you let us make fools of ourselves like that. She yells before cooling off, seeing Sakura go wide-eyed. You knew from hanging out with me that our training was nothing like yours. And you knew we were planning to enter the exams. You could have just told us you were going to sweep this one and let us go next time. She falls back a little to lean on the desk with a sigh. I know the team we got our second scroll off was basically gift wrapped from Naruto and I know that was your idea. And while it made sure you got all your friends through the forest it's embarrassing for us. We got handed a win and then got crushed in the preliminaries which just made it even more embarrassing. And it's even worse for Team 8. Poor Hinata, the clan heiress being beaten by one of her branch cousins? Her home life is going to be even worse now. Sakura was shell-shocked. Ino. I didn't even. Ino just groaned though. I know you didn't even. It's no surprise you've been living in a bubble after all. You have to think about the politics of things too, and it would have been better for Team 8 and Team 10 not to compete against you. Sakura nodded and made eye contact despite her shame. You're right Ino. I tried to do something good but I should have talked to everyone involved beforehand and in not doing so I made it all worse. Ino lets the room sit in tense silence before breaking eye contact with the pinkette. Oh fine, I know you only make a mistake once. Besides you'll make it up to me. She finishes with a wink before dragging Sakura off to eat their dango. About that. Do you know Jiraiya of the Sannin? Oh shut up, you do not know Jiraiya of the Sannin. The girls spent almost an hour sitting around the Yamanaka Gardens before Jiraiya arrived, his huge frame casting a shadow over them by the time they noticed the shockingly stealthy Shinobi. I always told your dad he looked like a girl when he was your age. Now I have all the proof I need. You're his spitting image. The Sannin's booming belly laugh carrying through the gardens. Ino's reaction was to punch Sakura in the shoulder. You weren't fucking with me? A fucking Sannin is training you now? Where do I sign up for this kind of training? But Sakura just laughed. Take your vitamins and say your prayers then. Sakura lunges and gets Ino into a headlock. Cause I have evenings free so we can train together then. Right after I'm done training with Jiraiya. She lets Ino out of the headlock. Which we were hoping we could do here. I'd owe you a favor? Nah? Nari? Nah, she finishes in a sing-song tone. Fine. She huffs playfully. You two weirdos have fun. I'll tell daddy you're out here. She calls over her shoulder as she jaunts back towards the shop at the bottom floor of her house. So Sakura, tell me what you know about nature chakra? The sage opens with once they've gotten some privacy. Well, I know there's chakra in all living things. I also know that supposedly the seal I've got can siphon and store it but I was told not to try doing anything with it without you. Jiraiya nods along. That's not a bad place to start. So yeah, there's chakra all around us. People have been trying to access it basically forever. Those that succeeded are known as sages, like myself. Those that learn to access it but fail to balance it within themselves are known as statues now, but most people don't even get that far. He takes a quick drink of water before continuing. So for most people, before doing anything else, they have to learn to feel the nature chakra around them and draw it into themselves. So for someone like me, what I normally do is meditate so I can feel the chakra around me, and stay perfectly still so I can harmonize with and draw in as much natural chakra as I can balance with my own. In doing so, I enter what I refer to as sage mode. He pauses for a moment. Still with me so far? Sakura nods, so Jiraiya continues. Alright, so with a normal curse seal it just uses nature chakra to fuel all the stuff Orochimaru makes it do to people with his own soul holding the balance. So Danzo couldn't get rid of the part of the seal that basically hardlines nature chakra into your system. That part is too entwined in your chakra network now. But he scrapped the rest and built his own control matrix that he tied to what he referred to as your inner. So from what I can gather from the design of the matrix is that it's effectively faucet. He's left it to always let a little bit through, which would explain the extra energy you've been feeling. So what we need to do is teach you and your inner self how to balance nature chakra with your own. But unlike me, you won't be limited by needing to stay still. You'll be limited by the size of your own reserves. Because right now, if we open that seal up all the way, you'd be a statue. Jiraiya snaps his fingers like that, and I don't have the way to fix it here. Sakura nodded again. Alright, go slow and careful, work with my inner to control the balance. I haven't really heard much about sages though. What are the benefits? Yeah, that's fair, not many sages around. You know, there's me. And well, Senju Hashirama. And oh, the sage of the six paths. You know, some pretty tough cookies. Jiraiya teases, but Sakura's exasperated look gets him to continue. Oh fine. Huge gains in strength, durability, and regeneration. More potent jutsu, and sensory abilities. And because unlike me you won't need to stop and meditate to gather nature chakra, you'll be able to basically constantly be in sage mode. But being a sage is a multiplier, not a fixed gain. So your sage mode won't be as potent as my own until you have reserves like mine. He admired the steel beam he had replaced for Sakura. Probably why Danzo has you lugging that thing around, building more physical energy and expanding your reserves all at once. Gotcha, so you said Danzo left it open a little for some reason? Good catch. That way it doesn't build up in the seal and start poisoning your system or anything. And the little it's letting through is so minuscule your inner has already been mixing it into your reserves. Right now your seal is operating at about 1% of its potential. So over the next month I want to get your baseline to about 5% and your peak to 15-20%. For now we only change the level when meditating and together. Ready to get started? Sakura's smile is one of genuine excitement. Hi sensei. It was late by the time Sakura got back to Team 7's apartment. After she was done training with Jiraiya, which was mostly a lot of meditating for now, she ended up getting dragged into dinner with Ino and her parents, before her promised training session with Ino. Okay, maybe she'd bit off a little more than she could chew, but Ino wasn't wrong. They'd been given a lot of advantages that even if they had felt like torture at the time had put them significantly above the level of their peers. And clearly they were out of touch with the social aspects of being a shinobi that they would need once they were tuning, so spending time with Ino was good on a lot of fronts. So she was tired. And not at all happy with the looks on her teammates' faces. Oh, for the love of she palms her face. What? What more could have possibly happened when I let the two of you go without me? She storms over to the table to take a seat before gesturing for someone to fill her in. We met Naruto's great aunt at an Uzumaki temple just outside the city. Sakura's head hit the table as she groaned. I was gone for like 8 hours. I was really hoping you could have a normal afternoon. I mean, at least I know what fainting feels like now. Naruto tried to brighten the mood. But Sakura just let herself fall onto the table as she groaned at the never-ending madness of their lives. The next morning Naruto didn't go with his team for physical training. It looked like he barely slept, nearly entombed in scrolls and books he had brought home from the temple. 2 clones, about as many as could be in the apartment with everyone home, worked to sort everything even as Naruto read. Sakura almost raised a hand to ask why he wasn't coming, but Sasuke caught it before she could, his eyes telling her to leave it alone for now. And so they left, and Naruto kept reading. Not jutsu scrolls, or fighting techniques. But the entire history of the Uzumaki clan is written by Uzumaki Mito. Realizing his team was gone and he didn't have to worry about letting them sleep, more clones filled the room. If there had been anyone there to see it, they might have noticed his hands beginning to shake. When Team 7 returned, Sasuke had to admit it was possible he'd made a mistake that morning. Because what they found when they got home that night was an empty apartment. Naruto and all his scrolls nowhere to be found. He rubbed his shoulder sheepishly after Sakura hit him. Damn it Sasuke, I knew leaving him here was a bad idea. She wasn't mad at him, not really. Everything about her tone and posture said she was nothing but concerned. I know where he'll be. Come on. He slams the door a little harder than needed as he turned to leave. Sakura might not actually be mad at him but he still should have known better. It didn't take them long to get to the Uzumaki temple, Naruto having left the security seals disabled behind him evidently. Sasuke hadn't bothered mentioning those to Sakura and was sure she wouldn't have been happy if she knew Sasuke had no plan on how to get through them if. So everything was going okay so far. But the moment they entered the temple it was obvious that things were in fact, not okay. The muffled sound of crying mixed with the ocean of chakra from the floor below would probably set anyone off. But it wasn't Kyuubi's chakra so it could be worse. But when they entered the room they still weren't truly prepared to find Naruto on his hands and knees sobbing. To see the air pulse and shudder as he hit the ground again and again. Sasuke's eyes were good enough to pick up the title of the book he had just been reading, and make out the details of the picture that had presumably fallen out. Pregnancy Journal Uzumaki Kushina. With a picture of a very pregnant Kushina with Minato. It was one of the happiest pictures you can imagine. Sakura tried to run to his side but was blown back by the ocean of chakra Naruto was exuding. Silver lining was that her cry of shock got Naruto to notice they were here. When he looked up at them Sasuke was able to see something else stashed under Naruto's body, a copy folder by the look of it. But realizing he wasn't alone Naruto threw the folder towards them and pulled himself into a corner to try and breath and get his chakra back under wraps. As he pulls Sakura back to her feet, that steel beam really is heavy he also realizes. The two share a nervous glance, unsure of what they'd find that had upset him so. In a folder marked legal papers copies at that. Only the question was answered almost as soon as it was opened. The two most recent documents being the joint last will and testament of Uzumaki Kushina and Namikaze Minato and marriage certificate Namikaze Minato and Uzumaki Kushina. As they started reading the first one Naruto choked out a paraphrased version. If, in the event of our death Kushina's burden is passed to our yet unborn child. They are to be raised by their godfather, and hailed as a hero of the village. Both as my child, and the only one that can keep the village safe. The cracking sobbing voice turned angry as Naruto stood, throwing a random scroll across the room. They kept ITL from me. A crack as his fist found the wall behind them. The chakra he was exuding began to turn malevolent as his eyes turned to red. I was loved. I had a clan. I had a family. I had a legacy. Sasuke's eyes began to widen in the beginnings of fear as Kyuubi began to stir, and yet Naruto's rage was turning cold. A clan left to die, after we kept them safe since before the village was founded. He rounds, making eye contact with them. Did you know that it was Mito that taught Hashirama how to make Jinchuriki? Uzumaki seals that gave every village their greatest weapons. The big air quotes were added dramatically. Or how about that only an Uzumaki can carry Kyuubi? That the only reason Kushina was even in Konoha was so it could be passed to her from Mito? So the Uzumaki are now providing both the jutsu used in the vessel. Do you know what Jinchuriki means? It means the power of human sacrifice. The room was silent aside from Naruto's panting. There really wasn't anything to say that hadn't been already. Eventually the silence breaks as Naruto turns to look away from them, letting out a frustrated shout, as he stomped and threw off the still-forming Kyuubi cloak. His energy drained as he forced the beast back down. He slumped back onto the floor, crying silently. A moment later Sasuke and Sakura are on either side of him, a hand on each of his shoulders. They didn't say anything because they didn't need to. Naruto pulled them both into a group hug as he started to cry again. I don't understand why Sarutobi would do this to me. I called him Gigi for most of my life. He sniffled loudly. Would they even have told me any of it if not for Danzo? Sakura rubbed little circles in his back as she spoke softly. There's no way to know, hun. We just gotta do our best from here. Once Sakura had said her piece Sasuke finished. And we will make it right Naruto. Anything we can. Naruto just clung to his teammates as he sobbed, nodding into their embrace. But he couldn't help but harbor the thought that it could never be made right. But with his team here, and maybe Jiraiya someday, maybe they could make it better. The next day Naruto went with them for morning training. Quiet, but he was there putting in the work. In fact, he didn't say a word until they broke for lunch. After a quick trip home to shower, the silence was broken. I was thinking I might go have lunch with Iruka-sensei before I finally met up with this Danzo guy. Sakura actually brightened up at this. That sounds like a great idea. You'll tell sensei we say hi, right? Naruto nodded shyly and silently exited the apartment. For Iruka it had been a pretty normal day so far. Konohamaru and his crew causing a fuss, Hanabi getting snappy with them, Iruka calming them all down. It was kind of sweet really, but even still he was grateful for the lunch break. Without Naruto around he didn't need to worry about his food being pranked or anything and he could just enjoy his "Hey sensei, was that offer for lunch still available?" And while Naruto spoke softly, the fact that it came from right behind the seated teacher who had no idea anyone was there caused the diligent Chunin to jump right onto his desk. And while Naruto's ensuing giggles certainly brought a smile to his face he couldn't help but get in a little good-natured ribbing. "Well, seeing as the lunch I brought is all over my shoes now you're not leaving me many options." He got off the desk before he pulled Naruto into a hug, ruffling his hair as he did so. Hey stop that." Naruto protested weakly through his giggles. "Oh fine." Iruka pulled back enough to move his hands to Naruto's shoulders as he looked him over. "You changed your look. Kept the orange of course, but where'd you learn how to braid your hair?" He runs a hand across the braided length of Naruto's hair. "And it's so soft. Someone's learning how to take care of themselves." Naruto is bright red as he brushes Iruka's hands off him and steps back. "Come on sensei, I'm not some little kid anymore." But Naruto's somewhat faux outrage just had Iruka bent over laughing. "Oh I've missed you Naruto. Come on, let's get that lunch." His arm finds its way around Naruto's shoulders again as they head out together. "Sure, can we maybe get takeout and eat at your place though? There's some stuff I can't really talk about in public." He got kinda quiet as he finished, not really looking at Iruka directly. For his part Iruka, while a little taken aback by Naruto's unexpected shyness had nothing against the idea. It is Naruto after all and he's just been traumatized by a Sannin. He had no idea how far off the mark he was. "Yeah that's fine, I'll get someone to cover my next class so we can take our time. Why don't you tell me where you learned to do your hair like this on the way?" He figured that would be a nice light topic to get started with. Naruto smiled a little as he recalled the day. "Well it's actually a longer story than you might think. So Sakura and I were running some errands on a very rare day off while Sasuke spent some time at the Uchiha compound, and things just sort of kept going wrong. Skip forward to entering Iruka's apartment, arms laden with ramen. And so by the time we get out of there Ino's done both of our hair, giving us basically new wardrobes, and tons of hair and skincare stuff." Iruka can't help but laugh as Naruto finishes his story, almost not able to believe his ears that Ino was apparently having a girls' night with her apparently former rival and Uzumaki Naruto of all people. "Well it's good to hear you're making friends. I'll be honest I was pretty worried when you got Danzo-sama for a sensei and just sort of vanished. It's wonderful to see you and the rest of your team doing so well." He finished setting out all the food and took a seat before continuing. "How are they doing anyways? I know you all made it through the prelims but you were all pretty beat up coming out of the forest." That was sort of putting it lightly, but Naruto appreciated him not bringing up Kyuubi, or the fear Naruto had been able to sense from his former sensei in the tower. Even still it took him a moment to answer, as they started steering into trickier waters. Well they recovered from the exam stuff pretty quickly. Danzo-sensei was able to modify Orochimaru's curse seal to make it less awful." Naruto twirled his noodles around in the broth as he continued. "But lately, there's just more and more getting piled on." He trailed off as he started to feel his voice catch in his throat, staring into his soup as he struggled to hold back tears. It didn't take a genius to figure out something was very wrong, and Iruka reached out to take one of Naruto's hands from across the table to try and comfort his old student. Hey now I know the exams are stressful, but you held off a Sannin. Do you know how many shinobi can say that? You guys will have the tournament in the bag." Naruto smiled a little at the attempt to cheer him up. His choked laughter came out almost as a sob though as he pressed on. "It's not that. I found out who my parents are." Iruka hesitated for a moment, unsure of why Naruto would be so shaken up by this. "But that's great news. What's wrong?" Naruto started to cry into his soup as a lot of the emotions he was still struggling to process came to the surface. "The Hokage lied to me." That dam was starting to crumble as Naruto's voice was choked in between sobs. "He lied about Kyuubi, and he lied about my family, and he went against my parents' last wishes in a bunch of ways." Naruto's voice was breaking as he started to hyperventilate. "And he made me believe he cared about me the whole time. I called him Gigi my whole life and he smiled and hugged me as if he hadn't stolen my whole life from me." Naruto's on his feet now, beginning to pace as one hand gestured with his points and the other tugged on his braid. Iruka was so stunned by the outbursts that he wasn't even able to form anything to say before Naruto continued. "And I can't even tell you who they are. We got special clearance as a fucking reward for doing well in the exams. Iruka started to raise a hand as if to try talking, but Naruto wasn't done. And I know he means well, but Sasuke's so mad about it all that I didn't even really get a chance to decide how I want to handle it. And he's not wrong, but it's not his GG that he's planning to. Naruto cuts himself off. No, it's better you don't know actually. He falls back to sit with Iruka again, burrowing his face into his arms on the table with a groan. My whole life is a lie. Could just barely be heard, muffled by the sleeve of the distressed Shinobi sleeve. Naruto. Come on, not everything's a lie. Leave it to Iruka to be an optimist. You're like my little brother, I'm here for you. Iruka made his way around the table to put his arms around his emotional friend. And it sounds like your team will have your back no matter what. It sounds like you've got something really special. And if Ino told you and Sakura that you have the backing of her clan, that's a serious show of support from a major clan power. All the relationships you're building, the reputation you're developing, those are all real. Learning about where you came from doesn't change who you are. Iruka's calming presence and words of reassurance managed to get Naruto's head back up off the table, but now it seemed as if Naruto had been drained of energy as he responded flatly. Iruka-sensei. I don't think I know who I am anymore. He sat back up properly with a sniffle and gestured for Iruka to sit back down as he collected himself. It all started in Wave Country. And Naruto told Iruka the story of a kind-hearted young person that fought to protect their master. A beautiful soul that made Naruto question a lot of his preconceptions about the world. The first person Naruto killed. After that I had a lot of trouble. Danzo helps. He's surprisingly good with emotions. He taught me to start thinking through why I do things and what things really make me happy. But the more I do that, the more confused I get. The things that have really been making me happy lately are all things that boys aren't supposed to like. I like gossiping with Sakura, and Ino's makeover was great, and I really like the battle kimono, and I know it's a girl's one, and I know my sweater is a girl's sweater, but I actually like them. And I never realized before that I never actually got to pick what I liked. I just got what I could get and made myself happy to have those things. I didn't want that jumpsuit or to live off ramen. I was just poor and had to be happy because no one was gonna do anything about it even if I wasn't. I wanted plants and nicer soap. Naruto threw his arms in the air as he let himself fall back onto the carpet so he wouldn't be looking at Iruka for the next part as his face started to flush. I don't even think I like girls. What? Iruka sputtered in surprise, but quickly recollected himself. Are you sure? I thought you liked Sakura? Naruto nodded. I do like Sakura, I think she's great. I just thought there was only one way a boy could like a girl. I didn't even understand what it meant the first time I asked her out, I just wanted her to be my friend. Naruto gave a little giggle at this. I'm not always the brightest. Well, what about your sexy jutsu then? There had to have been research to make that. Yeah, you know, I thought about that for a bit too. But you have to promise not to reveal my jutsu secrets here for a second. Iruka crosses his heart, of course, we're fellow Leaf Shinobi. Alright, cool. My transformation jutsu is a real transformation. I really become whatever I turn into, and while I always knew that, I didn't understand that that's not how it works for most people. So I thought, why not try being a girl? But then, you know, maybe I liked it. And I just sort of decided it had to be funny, that I liked it because it was funny. But that's not it, is it? Iruka asked gently, hoping his tone would carry the support he was trying to convey. Naruto sighed. No, it's not. I liked it because I just did. Because when I got the jutsu right, it was more comfortable for me than my normal body. But I never thought. I didn't know people could be like that. That's not something people talk about. And even though Haku never talked about it, just seeing someone else that maybe felt something similar? Someone that maybe didn't have a jutsu like mine but had figured out they wanted to be different and be making the changes for them to be happy? Well, after I started getting over what happened in Wave, I decided to let myself live in a way that made me happy. And the more things that I find that make me happy, starting to figure out that I'm not into girls, the more I think that maybe I want to be a girl. Naruto finished beet red and staring at the wall so he couldn't see Iruka's face. The room was silent for a moment before Iruka stood up and went to the kitchen quickly, before returning and standing over Naruto with his hands behind his back and a grin spread across his face. Okay Naruto, don't be so dramatic, get up and look at me, I've got something for you. Naruto stands nervously, still pink in the face as he meets Iruka's kind and caring gaze. Once he does, he's further surprised to find Iruka pulling out a small cluster of flowers from behind his back. White daffodils to be precise. No matter how much of the rest of your life changes, I'll be here for you. It doesn't matter who you like, or who you think you need to be happy. The Naruto I want in my life is the Naruto that smiles, okay? Naruto sniffles a little as her eyes fill with tears once more before she jumps into her sensei's arms. He made sure to maneuver to keep the flowers safe as he caught her in a sort of flying hug. It was hard to make out if Naruto was laughing or crying, but she settled back down quickly and Iruka could hear a muffled voice from his flak jacket that made him join in on the laughter. I hope everyone I tell gives me flowers. Well, don't get too upset if they don't. Iruka manages between giggles. Not all your friends will have a ready supply of them from students like me. Naruto wipes her face as she pulls back from Iruka, still giggling and sniffling a little. Ino might. Iruka smiles as he tucks the flowers he'd offered into Naruto's hair. Yes, Ino might, probably much nicer flowers than these though. No way. These are perfect, sensei. Naruto's smile was infectious and before long the two of them were back to laughing and finishing their now slightly cold ramen. Eventually it became time for the two to head out. Iruka did of course need to get back to class. But Naruto hesitated at the door before they headed out. And I haven't told anyone else yet. And I don't really know how I'm going to. I probably won't make a big deal out of it. Once I tell my team, Sasuke will probably just genjutsu everyone into thinking it was always that way or something. And while she giggled at the thought, well, it might not be far from the truth. After leaving Iruka's, Naruto finally tracked down this Danzo character that was supposed to be training her. It wasn't all that hard, as it turned out they lived in the same building. Which would be more surprising if their building wasn't almost exclusively high-level shinobi. Naruto figured that did bit out a while after moving in. When she knocked at the door in question, it was answered promptly by a man with short brown hair and black, almond-shaped eyes and a Hapori-style forehead protector. His gaze landed on her for just a second before an eyebrow quirked in askance. Oh. Right. I'm Uzumaki Naruto. My sensei told me I could meet up with you whenever I wanted to train? Tenzo blinked owlishly before responding. Ah, yes. Sorry, I was expecting you a couple days ago so I assumed you weren't coming. Naruto flinched a little before laughing nervously and scratching the back of her head. Ah yeah. Sorry about that. There's just been some stuff I had to take care of. Tenzo nods stiffly. Understood. But then Naruto was shocked for just a moment as the door was shut in her face, only for it to be swiftly reopened with a redressed Tenzo, now in a standard jounin outfit. Let's go. When they eventually arrived at a very private training ground, Naruto thought to ask the question. So what are we doing all the way out here? Where is here anyways? This is one of the training grounds Danzo sets aside for training hidden jutsu. I learned to use mine here, and hopefully we can start to develop yours. Tenzo replied, he doesn't blink much apparently. But the Uzumaki don't have a formal bloodline. Just a tendency for potent chakra. Tenzo nods again. And yet Uzumaki Kushina was able to develop her adamantine sealing chains from her chakra. The same chakra that I believe lets you truly transform with your transformation jutsu, and gives you such an affinity for your clones. Tenzo displays a folder with Naruto's name on it. And while we work on that, you will have clones working on wind manipulation. Danzo has committed to teaching you his vacuum style, and that will require the very highest level of skill. Questions? Yeah, I have a lot of chakra, but even I can't keep up with that kind of load for long. But Naruto was left catching her breath when 4 wooden pillars rose up around her, adorned with dog heads. Then use QBs, with me present it's safe for you to push your limits. Naruto's grin couldn't get any wider as they started the first day of her training. After she had finished up with Tenzo, she found her apartment still empty. With it not being terribly late and her chakra network still in high gear, she decided to go back out. She didn't really have much of a destination in mind as she walked through the village, though some of the restaurants she'd walked by smelled pretty good. Hey Naruto. Oh, that was actually not who she'd expected. Hey Choji-kun. She replied as she turned. And Shikamaru too. It's good to see you both, sorry about the prelims and all. She scratched the back of her head awkwardly, not really sure what to say to the two. Luckily they seemed to take it well enough, Shikamaru waving it off as he spoke. Mama. The exams were troublesome anyways. And besides, we can always take the next one. Choji continues. Naruto can help but giggle a little at the boys. Oh, well in that case I'm glad you're both taking it so well. From what Sakura had said, Ino was kind of upset. Ino is the definition of troublesome. The Nara heir drawled, head rolling back just slightly as he did so. Anyways, Naruto. We were just about to head in for some barbecue, care to join? Leave it to Choji to bring it back to food. But well. She had been thinking about getting a bite to eat, and it was always better not to eat alone. And she'd be lying if she said she didn't kind of like watching Shikamaru try to figure her out. The puzzled interest the normally disinterested Jinan was showing her. Not that she could blame him, she was just starting to figure herself out, never mind other people knowing. I'd love to join. Do you guys come here often? Only every chance Choji gets to drag us here. Hey, it's good food. And I watch clouds with you whenever you want. Naruto giggled a little at that. Oh good, we've traded one troublesome blonde for another. Shikamaru jokes with a smirk as the trio heads into the restaurant. Oh please, like Ino could keep up with me if we really got into it. Naruto did a kinda snooty voice and flicker her braid of her shoulder as she said it, in a comedic impression of Ino. While Choji burst out laughing, Shikamaru managed to get a comeback out around a snort. Forgive me, we got the troublesome blonde with extra batteries, my mistake. Which had Naruto almost bent over laughing as they got to a table, Shikamaru and Choji sitting on one side and her on the other. So what's new with you guys anyways? She asks after Choji placed an order for the whole table. Oh not much really. Since you guys knocked us out of the exams we've mostly just been taking it easy. Ino was pretty bummed, but Shika said you guys did your best to keep us in the competition, so I figure we just need to get stronger. Once we've all had some time to recharge, I'm sure Asuma-sensei will up our training so we'll be ready. Hey! That's a great way to look at it. What about you, Shikamaru? But it seemed the lighter conversation was coming to a close, as Shikamaru took a drink of water before locking eyes with her. Just trying to figure out how a team of people we went to school with could disappear for a few months and come back able to rig the Chunin exams. He took another drink calmly as their food arrived and Naruto and Choji both sputtered at his sudden directness. Shika. You can't just. Choji tries to defuse but Naruto waves him down. No, it's okay. Honestly, we just had a dedicated sensei that really didn't use the kid gloves. Naruto got out kind of lamely before continuing. Like, when we were training, we all had to see the medic at the end of the day. Every day. And we had specially tailored meal plans and supplements to help us develop. And training was all we did for months, and then when we did go on a mission, it ended up being A rank and we encountered Momochi's Abusa. It's as much bad luck that we're as strong as we are as it is good really. The whole time Naruto was speaking, Choji's eyes got wider and wider, but Shikamaru tried to stay impassive. There's more you're not saying. He pressed gentle as he dished up a plate and handed it to her, before starting to get himself one as Choji realized people were getting food and scrambled to get his own. I mean, yeah Shika. There is more. But a lot of it's not mine to say, which meant stuff about Sasuke and Sakura. And some of it I can't say, village secrets, would need to be careful around those. And you know what, Shikamaru? Maybe some of it is personal and I'd tell you if I felt like it. And that would be his K to back off. Sorry. He waved her down. You're right, of course. You'll need to forgive my curiosity. He leaned in to start eating his food, before making a quick side glance and finishing. I just find you interesting. Both Naruto and Choji were bright red and stammering as Shikamaru dug into his food. Eventually they all managed to get back to having a normal dinner. It turned out Choji was a decent gossip just from being in proximity to Ino. No kidding, you're sure it was Sasuke? I'm telling you it was. I saw him walking with Hinata last night. Well, that just doesn't seem like him. I'm just telling you what I saw. I swear on this delicious cheesecake. Okay, Naruto admitted to herself. Choji would never swear on cheesecake if it was a lie. Especially stuff this good. Fine, I guess I know what he'll be doing with his evenings. That reminds me, Shikamaru, I need to talk to your dad. My sensei says I need to learn how to play shogi and that your clan is the best. Sounds troublesome. Seems to me like you should just learn from me. We already know each other, and besides my dad is busy. Naruto tries to play into it and call his bluff, with a foxy grin on her face. Oh, I bet you'd like that, wouldn't you? Only to have it blow up on her as Shikamaru outplays her, making eye contact before getting up to leave. I would actually, my place at 19:30 hours. He stops just after walking past her to call over his shoulder. I picked up the bill already, don't be late. Choji and Naruto were left staring at each other in shock, both bright red and wide-eyed. Naruto did end up going to Shikamaru's after dinner. However, unlike at dinner, he kept it pretty much about the game. Naruto was a fast learner as long as you kept it pretty hands-on, and Shikamaru realized that, so they sat across from each other and started playing before long. And before long they were having fun. Shika was shocked to find that once Naruto knew the rules, they played fast and very well. Even still, he won every game, and it wasn't too long before it got dark and Naruto decided it was time to head home. This was fun though, Shika. Mind if I come back on nights when my sensei isn't available? For sure. See you tomorrow, Naruto. He waved as she started to head out. Good night Shika. See you tomorrow. And for the rest of the month she was there almost every night. When Naruto got home she could hear somebody in the shower. The chakra presence and the neatness of the shoes by the door told Naruto it was Sasuke. So Naruto just took her shoes off and started watering her plants. When Naruto hears the front door open and close she takes a steadying breath before turning to greet Sakura, trying to muster some of the classic Naruto cheer. Hey Sakura-chan. How was training today? Oh god don't even get me started. A loud clanking noise that could only be her leaning her steel beam against the wall. And Jiraiya? Bless his heart does not understand human limitation. Lots of enthusiasm but as cautious as we're being, I still end every day feeling like my chakra network is full of molten lead. The sound of a door announced Sasuke's return from the shower. And of course he's fine, he's not even breaking a sweat. Meanwhile I could turn into a literal statue at any point. Realizing she was rambling she all but threw herself into the back of her chair with a groan. What about you Sasuke? What's this Kakashi guy like? Sasuke of course had just finished making them all some tea, and was pouring it as he replied. Kakashi's fine. We're working on trying to unlock whatever ability my Sharingan is trying to manifest. Lightning training, speed training. I like his dogs. Naruto giggled a little at this. And what about the time you spent with Hinata? How was that? Naruto asked as she put down her watering pail and took her seat. Sasuke didn't even get a chance to reply as Sakura stopped leaning back into her chair and fell to full attentive and alertness. What? Since when are you and Hinata friends? Where'd you hear about that? I was with Ino and she didn't even know. Naruto's smile only got bigger as she continued. Oh apparently while Choji and Shikamaru were having dinner last night they saw the two of you walking by. Sasuke's face hit the table with a groan. It's just like the academy. I can't even go on a walk without being gossiped about. He picked his face up before continuing. I was just worried after seeing stuff with her and Neji play out. And I have evenings free so I offered to start training with her. Suddenly there was a flash of light as a previously hidden Naruto clone appeared with a camera. While Naruto giggled as Sasuke's head hit the table and Sakura cheered. Yay! Sasuke! You did it! You made a friend! She all but jumps on his back. This is so exciting. Oh can it I'm not that bad. Not like Naruto here deflecting everything to buy time for whatever he wants to talk about. Now with two sets of eyes on her Naruto shrinks down a little before their eyes, cheeks tinged slightly pink. What, I mean. I just wanted to check in with you guys. But, yeah. I did have something I wanted to talk about Her eyes flicked back and forth between the two of them. So I had lunch with Iruka today and we were talking about some things. And I think I've sort of figured some stuff out about myself that I haven't really talked about yet but I think you guys she got cut off by both of them at once. You like boys? From Sakura, and you're a girl. From Sasuke. They immediately shared a look between each other and gestured as if to say what? But Naruto is bright red and trying not to make eye contact with anyone as she confirms it. Actually. You're both right, I think. And just like that Naruto was suddenly hoisted out of her chair and was being twirled around like a toddler by Sakura. Oh my god Naruto. I'm so happy for you. I've known there was something going on for so long but I just thought you were gay but this is so much better. You can hear Sasuke groan and hit the table again. Ino's going to be so excited, you're gonna get to learn to do makeup from the very best. Ooh maybe we should see if Hinata would want to have a girls' night with the three of us. Wouldn't that be fun? She always liked you. Her face suddenly turns a gasp as she continues. Oh no. Hinata always liked you. Well she can't be mad that you're not interested in girls, that's not your fault. Sakura put Naruto down. She's turning blue. A quick glance up reveals that Sasuke's right, and she quickly deposits her teammate back in her chair before sitting back down and smoothing out her outfit. Sorry. Just got excited there for a second. She gestures for the two of them to talk now that she's done. Naruto was still catching his breath so Sasuke decided to take his chance at speaking. It's good you figured it out Naruto, I'm sure you already know your team will accept you no matter what. He paused briefly, measuring his next words. How do you want to handle it with other people though? I kinda thought I would just. I mean people already mistake me for a girl with the hair and everything so I thought I'd just A quick hand seal later and Naruto's features feminize ever so slightly. And stop correcting people. And the people in our life will probably just go with it, right? Sasuke thought it over for a second, but it was Sakura that actually had an idea first. I mean we can do that. But for officials and government stuff it would be better if we could address it more officially. Sasuke, you were planning on bringing Naruto's real birth certificate to the clan council after all this, right? Right. So couldn't we just make this one more hidden detail about Naruto's life? I bet Sensei could make a good enough fake that the 4th Hokage's hidden son could become the 4th Hokage's hidden daughter, right? Just make it one more part of the protection lay. Sasuke nodded along. The timing would be perfect. We already know we're getting promoted, so we'll have to update our ninja registry. And Naruto's transformation is perfect, so we won't have to deal with anyone's political stance. Just treat it like more hidden information. The three of them nod, agreeing on their plan. I guess I should tell Sensei then, eh? Yeah, that would probably help. But that could happen tomorrow. Tonight they could get some sleep.
That's it for this video. I hope you all enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and follow me on my other social media accounts. Anime God here, and I'm signing off.